Welcome back to the Sunday Chill stream. That was a video from the Anglican Renaissance YouTube channel. And that is going to be our topic for today. Welcome, everyone, to the Sunday Chill stream. Today, instead of just, goofing off, being all, silly like I usually am for the Sunday Chill stream, I thought, you know what? We are early into 2026. I think it's time we had a chat, shall we? One main thing that I have seen when it has come to the world of Christianity today is a phenomenon that can only be described simply as this photo right here. This is what I call evangelical fatigue. And it looks a little like this. 3 times in the past week, I met with 3 different people, all who have come from an evangelical background of some kind. In fact, perhaps a little late to the party, it seems to be a theme that has been ongoing for a couple of years now. With the access to the internet, with the access to many resources, a young man, or even some older people as well, has gotten to the point where they have found themselves in a situation where their low church, and I don't mean that in a insulting way, liturgically speaking, the low church way of how church is done is inadequate. It's modernist. It's filled with TV screens and a pastor who looks like a flashy, youth pastor, a 50-year-old man in some skinny jeans telling you how Oppenheimer is related to the Bible. Or we see silly things like, just with what non-dom churches do with like having plays about Easter that for some reason feature the Avengers. Or, there's just this TED Talky style of preaching that a lot of young people are getting fatigued on. And I saw this picture, and to be honest, it's something that I related to when I was in Bible college myself. It was just like, I know this is church. I know I love God. I feel like I'm doing everything right, but it's like something just feels off. And I believe this is what many people have. A lot of the reverence towards God in these churches, I'm not insulting the people, because to be honest, many of these people don't know. They just grew up in these churches. They went to colleges that told them this is how it is, and they just do things just because that's just what you're supposed to do. And for many young people, they look into the Protestant world and they see this modernism here, and they think, well, I want to worship God in a good way, but it just seems to be something that's not found, because the historical churches are, like the ELCA or the Episcopal Church, and they think, well, the only safe refuge to historicity is the Eastern Orthodox Church or the Roman Catholic Church. But they too, if they are honest, are also falling for these traps. And this is why I wanted to bring back this idea of the Anglican Renaissance. Now, my friend Joe has been an absolute powerhouse in bringing this about. It was his idea, and me and him got to talking. We kind of share this idea about the Anglican Renaissance. And to give you a quick reminder, I wanted to talk about it. So let's go to the website of the Anglican Renaissance. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, I have all the tabs open. Too many tabs. Let's see. Here we go. Let me pull that up on the screen here. How's it going? Yep. And we're talking about the Anglican Renaissance. How's it going today? So the Anglican Renaissance was an idea that Joe, or the young Anglican, came up with and developed, and many people, such as myself, have come along with the idea that we love this idea. And I want to give it another kickstart for 2026 and really get it going with some ideas that I have myself. So, what is the Anglican Renaissance? The mission statement is preserving the legacy of classical Anglicanism in North America by returning to the culture, doctrine, and worship of the Old English tradition. Anglicanism is the religion of the historic Church of England, a Christian tradition deeply rooted and stretching back millennia, which was refined through the English Reformation without losing its distinct Catholic heritage. Many are being drawn to the Anglican way of being a Christian in the 21st century America. That being said, very few knows what this actually means, including some newer Anglican churches. Being Anglican is much more than just appreciating a theology, taking on an identity, or donning an aesthetic. In order to be properly called Anglican, one has to be subject to the clerical authorities, practices, and beliefs that have defined Anglicans for centuries. Anything less is dishonest. We at the Anglican Renaissance wish to support an ad fontes retrieval of the classic Anglican heritage, stretching back prior to the progressive revisionism of the 20th and 21st century. We desire a resurgence of the rich theological inheritance of the great Anglican saints Richard Hooker, C.S. Lewis, George Whitefield, Lancelot Andrewes, E.V. Pusey, Julian of Norwich, etc., sought to hand down to us. We wish to see individuals and churches more fully live into the classical Anglican tradition. We seek to promote the orthodox expression of Anglicanism in North America, seen predominantly in the Anglican Church in North America, the ACNA, and the groups with them, and the Anglican Continuum, the ACC, the APA, the APCK, and where I'm from, UECNA. And we have the church map right here that gets updated when Joe is able to find more churches. This is simply an idea that, to be honest, it can be achieved. And I believe so with ways where we can just achieve these things in redefining how we can help, especially the young men in America. Now, many here are, they're excited about their faith. They don't know how to help, but they want to help. Some feel like they want to do stuff for the church, but they simply just don't know whether or not they're called for the holy orders. But I believe there's something else that can be done. I've had this idea for a while, partially because it is the path I'm going down. But one of the things I believe that can help with the Anglican Church, especially, is the retrieval of the classical way of the monastic orders. Now, many might think, whoa, I thought the monastic order was a Catholic thing or an Eastern Orthodox thing. But the Anglican Church has monastic orders. The one I am a part of right here, let me pull that up. Is the Anglican order of St. Patrick. And there are others as well. For the ACC, I believe they have. I was looking at their website. I'll show it to you here in a second. But they have such thing as the Congregation of the Good Samaritan, the Franciscan Order of the Divine Compassion, and the Benedictine Order, as well, I believe, as a Order of the Lady of. Forgive me, I don't have this pulled up, and I'm taking a shot in the dark how to pronounce this. Welsham, I believe. Again, I can see it in my head. Pronouncing it wasn't there for me, so apologize for that. But one I wanted to focus on, especially because I believe this is one that will be a little bit more will be a little bit more receptive for people is within the Anglican Order of St. Patrick, we have a situation here where it says, "We, the believers of the Anglican Order of St. Patrick, do hereby declare and establish this Constitution to preserve and secure the principles of our faith, to ensure that this body may be governed in an orderly manner. This Constitution will preserve the liberties of each individual member of the order and the freedom of action of this body, and in its relation to orders, be it jurisdiction, diocese, churches, or individuals, we also maintain the historical traditions of the Church in relationship to the seven sacraments, and will maintain conformity and consistency with the Orthodox Anglican traditions and the Anglican Order of St. Patrick." Now, the reason why I bring my order up, first off, is because I'm joining it, but this is a different type of monastic order where if you are married, you can join this order. Now, some people get all, well, hold on, monastic order. I thought you had to be celibate. But the thing is here is that you're able to be married, because this is one where it's focused less on, this is one that's built less on, a celibate lifestyle in cells, but simply this is something that people can join as lay people. This is a very lay person focused monastic order, and it's there to help those in the congregation come together as a group, not only just in church, but just in a wider order, in general, so that they are able to live a religious lifestyle with them not, you know, um, with them, or with those, with those who are eager to continue into the holy life, to want to get deeper into it, but don't have the call for the order. Now, also clergy can join this. And this is something that I am really excited about too, with the inclusion of more clergy into this order and the orders in general throughout the Anglican world, to help them grow and flourish. Now, why do I bring this up, especially with young people? With young people who are in the Anglican world, like I said, especially young men, I have found a strong desire within myself, with this desire being a sympathy for a lot of young men today. Now, young men today are in a position in the world where they're given many freedoms. And while we love our freedoms, while I live in America, I love the freedom I have. Along with this freedom isn't a lot of discipline. You have to develop this discipline. You have to find this discipline if you want it. But many just choose to not find the discipline. I mean, if they do, it's in some certain jobs, or it's in, things that they have a lot of trial and error. The thing I love about the monastic order, the thing I love about, this lifestyle, is that young men can find a purpose. Young men can seek deeper into their faith. Young men can be able to live a life of purity. They don't have to really find the way of living a good religious life from an immense amount of suffering at all times. Now, you will suffer in life. I mean, that is just life simply. But when it comes to these orders, at least for me and my perspective, the monastic order gives a place for the young man who doesn't know what he's going to do with his life. Is he going to go to college for something he really doesn't care about? Is he going to join the military where he develops a nicotine addiction? He develops trauma. He develops a unnecessary pain that he didn't need to do. Or perhaps the third way. Perhaps he can join a monastic order. He can take on the religious life, either temporary or full-time, and live to not only have himself draw himself closer to Christ. Obviously, God calls. But he can live a life where he can focus on his religious life, and not only that, help others grow in their faith as well, in a disciplined life, in a life that is not having to be unnecessarily bothersome by, again, trying to just figure things out, trying to start from scratch, trying to start from zero to go to 100. He can join an order where he'll be around a lot of other men, or for women, if they want to join, she'll be around a lot of women who are able to gather together and help lift them up from where these men and women are today, so that they're able to reach levels that they were unable to reach because no one was there to help lift them up, because we have to all figure it out ourselves. That doesn't have to be the Christian life. In fact, that's not the Christian life. We're not called, as in Hebrews says, to forsake the assembly, and to a much more simpler way, we're not called to be a lone man. Christianity is not the lone man's religion. We are a community of believers. A community of believers within an order such as the Order of St. Patrick, or the other orders that I said earlier, are able to help those who are starting from the beginning to elevate themselves in a faithful, disciplined way at a lot quicker pace than myself had to go through. I had to figure things out on my own. I had lots of help from people in very crucial moments of my life, but nobody taught me how to pray. I mean, people, told me how to say the Lord's Prayer. They showed me how to close my eyes and cross my hands together, but nobody told me how to build a discipline for prayer other than just, pray every day. Nobody taught me spirituality, because that was seen, as archaic. You may have touched on the spiritual a little bit, talking about, the issues with the demonic possessions, or just demons in general, or maybe some angels, but they were just seen as these things where it's like, yeah, we talk about them, but they're just not that important. But spirituality goes beyond that. The afterlife goes beyond just simple like this simple, just do really, really good and you'll go to heaven, or do really, really bad and go to hell. It gets a lot deeper than that, and I had to figure that out all on my own. I had to draw to these deeper parts of theology on my own, and while it was wonderful to hear and experience this, that getting into this deeper theology led me to Anglicanism, I often think to myself, it's like, man, if only I knew about the Order of St. Patrick years ago. If only I knew about these Anglican orders years ago, I feel like I would have been in the place I am today a lot quicker. But with that, I see an opportunity for a lot of young men and a lot of young women, or men and women of any age, to join into a lifestyle that is something that is able to really change their life. And I believe within the Anglican Renaissance, it is time that we focus on things like monastic orders once again. That we're able to present people a life of discipline, a life of prayer, which we already have in the Anglican world anyway. But it's like, what if you could do more? What if you could grow deeper? What if you could join a community that focuses on these things more than just a Bible study? And though Bible studies aren't bad, but it's like there's more than Bible studies. There's more than Sunday service. There's more to the religious world, and you don't have to be a priest to do it. You don't have to be a deacon to do it. You can do this with groups. Even if you feel like, hey, like I was saying, if you're one person who thinks that they're not fit for the world of holy orders, I honestly believe the monastic order is the next best thing, and it should be something that should be advertised a lot more frequently, especially for this world where we have a lot of confused people just looking for hope, or looking for desperation, or looking for something just to help them, who really want peace, who really want hope and security. And I believe this is what we can find within the monastic order. Now, on top of that, I do believe there is a great cause that we are able to really be fruitful in. And this is, there are a lot of young men who want to see the Anglican world get better. we hit some rough parts in 2025, and it may have felt like a dark world out there. But here's what I propose. There's lots of young people. There's a lot of young men who may have this call of like, I think I have this call to join the holy orders. That's great. That's something I want to see grow more and more. There are a lot of young men who I talk to almost every single day who are so who get excited about the Anglican faith, about the Anglican world. And there are a lot of people of my age or a little bit older who I look to personally, and I see, I told one guy yesterday, it's like, you know, I see a priest in you, and I see a priest in this other guy here, and I think it's time. Another part of the Anglican Renaissance is I believe it's time to really show young men, hey, if you want to make a big change in the Anglican world, perhaps it's time to seek out the holy orders. You know, don't just rely on Joe the young Anglican or Zach the Anglican acolyte or Sean the Anglican aesthetics or, you know, Ethan Stabs when he was doing his videos or, you know, just the plethora of other Anglican guys out there who are all on YouTube doing great work. We need guys even more seeking holy orders. We need guys who are ready to stand up against the progressive demonic forces that have taken over things like the Episcopal Church and say enough is enough. It's enough for the tomfoolery. It's enough for all of these things that are happening to our church. You know, we don't have to take on this abuse from the Roman Catholics or the Eastern Orthodox who have made it a lifestyle to make fun of people, even though the glass house is showing for them as well. Oh, well, you know, our church doesn't have all these issues. Meanwhile, you have what goes on in the Vatican all the time, or meanwhile, you have what's going on with the Eastern Orthodox Church, I believe, in Sweden, with them accepting the LGBT. Everybody has their problems, but it's the thing that makes people who want to see their church succeed. No, we don't have to be on the sidelines anymore. We don't have to sit here and watch as these churches are constantly hurt or fear, oh no, I'm on the sideline not knowing what to do, and I'm so afraid that, you know, somebody's going to bring in a woman pastor. But if you're constantly always active in your church, if you're constantly looking for more things to do, and like I said, if you genuinely feel like the holy orders are something that are on your heart, there's nothing wrong with asking a question. There's nothing wrong with seeking them out. And that's what we need right now. We need men who love God, who fear God, who want to do great things for the church to stand up and say, maybe this is what I'm called to do. To seek their pastor's advice, to seek their churches to help them out, and to continue to grow them, to live faithfully beyond the internet. And that's another minor thing about the Anglican Renaissance I would like to see for the future. We like to get on the internet. We like to be bombastic. We like to, you know, cause a lot of trouble with people just online in general. But it's time we live more faithfully and boldly in our Anglican faith outside of the internet. You know, one thing I do all the time is in a subtle, simple way, I wear my Celtic cross. To show that this is pulling me back to a tradition, but also points me back to the Order of St. Patrick, which is a discussion piece, and also shows me, hey, this is how much I take my faith seriously. This is not just jewelry. This is a sign to say, this is how loyal I am to Christ. And even then, I bring my prayer book everywhere, I bring my Bible everywhere, and I'm constantly talking about my faith. And I'm constantly living faithfully. I'm not afraid to pray in public. I'm not afraid to make the sign of the cross. You know, it's living more boldly and more, you know, open about our faith, because right now the world needs Christ. You know, we have all these potential riots happening. Iran is melting down. You know, the parody world of England is you know, in full effect with all cameras on it. You know, the world is in such a bizarro land that it is time for us as Christians in general, but more especially just because of the Anglican Renaissance, as Anglicans, to stand up and say, we're tired. We're tired of the progressivism. We're tired of the liberalism. We're tired of the parody world. We're tired of people mocking our, like, inside of our church, mocking it. We're tired of people, making a joke about the Lord. We're tired of people not taking the Eucharist seriously. We're just tired. But instead of picking up, weapons of violence, we stand up for our faith. We stand up and tell people enough is enough. I'm going to church. I'm praying out in public. I'm helping the poor, the widow, and the orphans. Like, if it's not, financially hurting for you, I'm help feeding the poor. I'm out giving blankets to the homeless. I'm seeking out the elderly who are forgotten in the care centers and going and meeting them and praying for them and helping them. I'm calling friends or family I haven't seen in years who I see. This is what I like to do. It's like I see posts on Facebook or like Instagram or Twitter or stuff like that, and I reach out to people, say, how can I pray for you? And I always invite them. Hey, would you like to come to church? Would you like to have an escape from parody land? This can be done when we find Christ. The Anglican Renaissance doesn't stay online. The Anglican Renaissance goes out to all of our lives, throughout all the people we meet, and for us to live faithfully even when the world is making a joke of the Christian faith. We don't have to get violent with people. We don't have to get aggressive with people. We don't have to join in to the darkness that has taken over this world. We can do this by going to church, by raising our children, by bringing the ones we love to the grace of God found in our churches. So it's time to take the Anglican Church seriously again. It's time for young men to stop to stop doom spiraling, to stop taking the black pill, to say enough is enough. Maybe I need to join a monastic order if I don't know what I want to do with my life. Maybe I need to join the holy orders if I feel so convicted for Christ to serve him faithfully all the days of my life. Maybe it's time I go beyond just, simple Discord Bible studies and do one out in the world. Maybe it's time to live faithfully as a Christian. So I want to promote more and more with the Anglican Renaissance the push for clergy, the push for the monastic order, the push to be more bold in your faith when the world's telling you to shut up. And there are plenty of resources that we have. There are plenty of resources that are provided with the Anglican Renaissance. With Sean Luke, with his catechetical school that he's trying to promote. I'm happy for that. I want it to grow. I want more resources out there for those who don't have them. And this is the most important part about all of this. I want young men in discipline to not try to make themselves theologians as soon as they can. Part of what's going to grow your faith is the fact that while we need more bold people in the faith, we need to learn how to study. We need to learn to slow down. We need to learn. We need to learn to be patient and to learn under wise men. Because too many, especially in the world of apologetics, try to make themselves the best theologian that they can be so they can start debating random people on the internet, and their faith crashes and burns. And they throw their entire faith away simply for an online debate. That needs to stop. So like I said, be bold, grow, continue to learn, continue to be in the monastic order, continue if you want to be if you're on the monastic order, continue to be in it. Continue to draw yourself to a deeper faith that can be found in the beauty of Anglicanism. Because the world needs it. The world desperately needs it. I'm just one guy with a camera on the internet But there are billions of people who have evangelical fatigue, who are looking for something deeper. They're tired. Perhaps it's the disgruntled Roman Catholic or Eastern Orthodox who went in for the aesthetics and, well, aesthetic wore off. Maybe it's, the unbeliever who has seen the darkness of the world and says, is this it? This is all life has given us? There's hope. The darkness may be around the world now, but there will come a time where joy comes in the morning. And I believe us as Christians, we're able to do that. We're able to be that joy that someone so desperately needs. And that is the Anglican Church for me. That is the Anglican Church every time I open the prayer book. And I say, "Oh Lord, open thou our lips, so our mouths shall show forth thy praise." Like one of my favorite lines in the 1662 is, "Because there is none other that fighteth for us, but only thou, O Lord." The beauty of the BCP, the simplicity of the 39 articles, the wonderful sermons of the Book of Homilies drew me to such a beauty. But it didn't stop at beauty. It drew me into deeper theology. It drew me into history. It drew me into what I so desperately couldn't find in the churches I grew up in. And I get joy when I see people find the same things that I found. So the Anglican Renaissance is not dead. The Anglican Renaissance, in my opinion, is just beginning. I'm so excited for the future. I'm so excited for everything that has gone about with Joe's work, with what I'm trying to do, with what Sean's trying to do, with all the Anglicans on the YouTube, Paul, and, like I said, other guys who are just all joining together who want to grow Anglicanism and have it find itself again. We can do it. The Christian church has pulled itself from darker places. And all it takes is a few and a proud group of men. But why stop at a few and a proud when we can grow this into a revolution, not only on the internet, but in the world around us? Thank you.